welcome to the Centrist Post YouTube channel. My name is Lauren Morris, and we have a special guest with us today from Poland. His name is Anthony Dixon, and he is a top-rated tech freelancer and founder of Dxxon Academy. He empowers tech professionals to achieve financial freedom by unlocking the potential of freelancing through tailored training and mentorship. Anthony is originally from Jamaica and moved to Poland in 2020 in search of better opportunities. Now, in his fifth year there, he has built a thriving career while inspiring others to transform their skills into sustainable and independent incomes. So, for the audience, Anthony and I met in Krakow, Poland in 2023 when I decided to go over to Ukraine and look around a bit. And Anthony we met through a mutual friend, and we met up in Krakow, Poland, and he showed me around a little bit. And it was really interesting. I'll never forget it. I walk out my hotel room, and there you are. And we just kind of like hit it off like we were old buddies, right? And you said to me, you said, "Oh my gosh, it's so nice to speak to somebody in English." Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember it very clearly. Yes.
And so I guess that would be a good opener for a first question because what we're going to do for the audience members here is we are going to talk about Anthony and his business, and we're going to talk about his discoveries in Poland, but we're also going to talk about an amazing thing that he did regarding uh, going on a rescue mission. For some Jamaican people who were stuck in Ukraine when the war broke out. So that's what we're going to do. So Anthony, you go to Poland on for educational purposes, right? Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then
Yes.
you just decide to stay. Why is that?
Well, the reason for that is just the opportunities I've discovered while I was in Poland. So in terms of like setting up a business, in terms of the living, it's really cost effective living in Poland as well. So it's just like it's a beautiful country and it's a pretty much cheaper to live. And then also there's a business opportunity. Poland is growing tremendously when it comes down to tech in terms of the tech industry. So if you're in that type of field, it's like many opportunities. Plus, you can also get to benefit as well from, cost effectiveness with the living expenses, and you can get a good quality of life.
Yes, you can. It is beautiful there, and so you can actually make the money and get ahead in life, which
Hmm.
is getting harder and harder to do elsewhere. And I noticed when I first got out before you and I met,
Hmm.
I went walking up the street near the university where my hotel was, and I just noticed how different the university students were there as opposed to what I see here, in Austin. Um, Everyone was very finely dressed. I saw the young people and they just looked so nicely dressed. And not just that too, but I mean nice clothes, nice
Hmm.
fabrics, nice shoes. And I noticed that the women were very feminine. Their hair looked beautiful. They all have beautiful nails. And it was just a real difference in walking out into Poland. Why do you think the environment, and this is, pretty general, vague question, but
Hmm.
taking that in context, what I just said, why is this society there like it is?
Hmm. I would like to say that I think it's this way because, Poland, they uphold traditional values, such as family, religion, and religion plays a really key part in Poland in terms of the Catholic Church. So, the political leaders and just the society, their values are mostly aligned with that. The people in Poland, you can say, it's quite a nationalist country, so people are really proud being Polish and what defines someone to be Pole. And in terms of that, the traditional that they have, it's really aligned with that. So I think it ties back into coming back to the Catholic and to the church where the values are just aligned because most of the things that you will see in terms of a nuclear family and most of the values that you find that's been upheld, you can tie that back to Christianity in some sense.
That was one of my main experiences when I went. Of course, when you get out on the ground in Krakow and you're down in the center of Old Town, you see that immediately. I also saw it when I was over in Ukraine, just an environment that's very family oriented. And I also had somebody else tell me when I was in Krakow that the Catholic Church, is very much um, dominant in Poland, and that they are the reason for a lot of things. So um, let's talk a little bit. So you go to school and then you decide to stay. It's a beautiful country and there's a lot of opportunities. And can you give us like an idea? Now, I know because I watch so much information about the war in Ukraine, I
Mhm.
see the technological advancements in the defense industry. I see the weapons and the software and the AI and everything that's happening like that. What are some of the standout things that you see in Poland that is giving it a tech edge that
Mhm.
allows someone like you to go over there and have a business and just thrive?
Mhm. Well, one of the advantages is a lot of companies in Poland, especially tech companies, they're trying to become international. So they're looking to grow into the international market, for example, especially English-speaking markets like United States, Canada, in North America. So, if you, let's say, a native English speaker, which I am, if you have experience working on the US market, which I do, there's a lot of opportunities you can get into that type of industry because they're looking to, expand in terms of, global markets, international markets. But also, Poland is improving in terms of their development. For example, since the war in Ukraine, the Polish government has made tremendous steps in making some improvements in terms of their defense system. So they're investing in not just weapons, but they're also investing in technology to make their system more, unique or have a more strong system in that sense. So in this regard, there's a lot of shift going into the technological advancement. So if you're in tech, it's a lot more easier to move to Poland if let's say getting a work visa because they're always looking for software engineers and backend and all the works. So, they see the need in terms of wanting to be ahead in Europe, but also, in the world as well, especially when it comes on to defense.
Well, and I know too that they were a lot of, English speaking people in Poland and enough of it around, enough of them around that you can get by. But I also
Mhm.
heard the other day that the Polish language is one of the hardest to learn. Is that your experience?
Yes, it is very difficult because the letters are just totally different from English. So it is difficult. You would really need to apply yourself to it. You need to focus and dedicate yourself. And that is why if you're a foreigner who speaks Polish, you get a lot of respect from Polish people because they themselves have admitted that it's even difficult for them with the language. And so, if even if you're trying your best to speak the language, let's say you're not so good at it, they still give you some respect or admiration. If you speak it well, that's even more stars for you because it's a difficult language, and they themselves have admitted that, yeah, it is a difficult language because there's so many things like, for example, based on the sentence structure, the person name may even change. So those are some of the stuff that makes it really complex.
Yeah, and how are you doing with that?
I'm doing some self-learning, but I'm gonna enroll officially in lessons
Yeah.
in a school to like get to the level I want because my objective is I want to get to the B2 level. So yeah, I do business here, so I get very a lot of sensitization to the language itself, and also like I have Polish friends, so like I have discussions with them, and let's say something I learned online, and I'll ask them to, you know, did I say it the right way? Is this the right way to say it, and stuff like that. So, it's more of self-learning right now, but I do have plans this year to enroll in an official course to get to the proficiency I want to achieve.
Well, I think it's amazing that you're still there. I
Hmm.
mean that that's great. How so how do you conduct your business in Poland in order to level up and achieve, you're an entrepreneur. It's your own business. How do you make that happen over there? And are there any kinds of like red tape and loopholes and restrictions for having your own business? Is it easy over there?
Um, Depending on how you classify it, easy. Like getting set up is not that difficult, but of course, with the Polish language being complex as it is on the social level, on the business level, it can get more complicated. And when you reach out to agencies or to get assistance, sometimes their English is not great. Sometimes there's stuff that's missing.
Hmm.
You misunderstood, let's say the agreement, and then you make one mistake and you can be in problems. And if you get into trouble, they'll be like, well, it's not our fault that you didn't understand the fact that you signed, so
Yeah.
it can be a bit tricky, but just to summarize it, you can do two types. So you can start your own company, like a one-man company. So that's just you and yourself as an entrepreneur, which is kind of a similar model I have. Or you can do an LLC. The LLC, there is like a share capital needed. You have to start with a share capital. The minimum is, I think it's like $1,000 US. That's the minimum
Oh,
you need to
wow.
start with. And you don't need to be a citizen or living in Poland. You can be like living outside of Poland and still get it set up, but you'd have to go through some agency to help you with that. And then for the one-man company, being an entrepreneur, you actually have to be a European resident or a student living in Poland to qualify to open that type of business.
Yeah. And so like are you going through an immigration process and to become a citizen, or are you already a citizen now of Poland?
I wish I was to take some time to
Yeah.
get to that level.
Yeah.
Right now, I do have my stay on the basis of business activity. So my stay is based
Yeah.
on my business. The next step is to apply for my EU long-term residency, and um, this I'll be able to do in 2026, 2027, going
Mhm.
to that year, and then afterwards, then I will apply for my citizenship.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. How is the so you got there in 2020, so you basically had how many months before February 2021 were you in Poland? Did you because the reason I asked that is when the war happened, and you had approximately 50,000 people coming from Ukraine into
Mhm.
Poland, and they were separated, I think, between three major cities,
Mhm.
Warsaw, Krakow, and one other. I don't know if it was Gdansk or another one. 50,000 people was quite a bit. And
Yeah.
did you notice a change?
There was change. There was panic. I was living in Krakow when it just started. I was when I just came to Poland, I was like given private English lessons, just for a way to make income before I was officially be able to set up something for myself. And one of my student was Ukrainian, lived in Ukraine, and she's the one that reached out to me firstly before I heard on the news, and she sent me a video, and you could hear the planes like flying over the city, and you hear the bombing, and then you hear the sirens, and
Yeah.
I reached out and said, "Hey, are you okay? Can you get somewhere safe?" And unfortunately, to this day, I haven't received contact from her, and she has a small child, so you know, I'm not sure exactly what happened, but yeah, there was a lot of panic because a lot of people were on the edge if Poland would be next in line.
Okay, so there was
Mhm.
that too. I just okay, and well, um that feeling has not it ebbs and flows. You hear about it from the narrative, but that feeling has not gone away. And Poland is not, Donald Tusk and Andre Duda are not uh, resting on their laurels. They have really ramped up their military um, troops and equipment and their whole military complex there. They've really ramped it up. They're ramping it up more. They have formed a Baltic, I think they are a part of the Baltic Alliance with Sweden and Finland and the Netherlands and Norway. I'm not sure, maybe, maybe not.
Mhm.
But I know that they do feel significantly threatened and by Belarus as well.
Mhm.
So when tell us about who contacted you and how you were contacted about your rescue operation.
Sure. Yeah, me too. So, I was contacted by a YouTuber that I did an interview with about what it's like being Jamaican in Poland. He was actually doing an interview with Jamaicans that were living in Ukraine. They're the one that reached out to him, and he was asking them what's their plan, what they're going to do, and they said that the closest country that they can try to get over to is in Poland. And then he was like, "Oh, I know someone that lives in Poland. I did an interview with him." So he sent me an email about it, and then I reached out to the consulate. Her name is Irina Cousins. She represents Poland in Jamaica. So I reached out to her, and then we got in touch with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Jamaica, and we started collaborating on, as you can say, a rescue operation um, to go to the border and to pick them up.
So you go 7 hours to Lviv. Is that what you did?
Not Lviv. It's we didn't went into Ukraine, went to the border. I don't
Okay.
remember the name of the city, but it's like 2 hours drive from Krakow.
Oh, okay.
So it's literally it's literally the border from where they were coming into, because a lot of them were coming into Krakow because that was like 2 hours from the border.
I see.
So yeah, so we got a bus, a huge bus, and myself and two other Jamaicans, we went there to the border to pick them up.
So when you go to the border and you go to pick them up, I can imagine there's a lot of chaos there. I've seen the
Hmm.
videos. Everybody's got their suitcases and their sleeping bags, and they're
Hmm.
basically stranded out all over the road, waiting for their next connection or pickup or whatever.
Yeah,
You
it
you,
was.
you first see them. Okay, go
Mhm.
ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I was gonna say it was vivid. Like the experience was crazy because in
Yeah,
Jamaica we are used to, let's say, gang violence, right? So the local gang causing violence and stuff, but this typical warfare, it's a different magnitude, you know. This is not just a local gang or a group of thugs. This is like a real war. So it was like a very, for the Jamaicans that were there and they tell me the story, it was a very, I think even years past, they're still having PTSD about it. So
about this war and what they
yeah,
experienced. Well, what
yeah.
what can you give us an example of what they might have told you? I know you
Hmm.
said the video, I mean, um, I'm an audio engineer, and so my frame of reference, hearing is a big thing for me, and
Hmm.
I can imagine, I really literally can imagine with some of the work that I have done with audio, with ballistics and things like that. I've got some experience with loud sounds, and I
Hmm.
can imagine how frightening it would have been. And were these people that were literally driven from their homes in the middle of the night? Is that what happened to them?
They were all university students.
Okay.
So they were taking shelter at the nearest bomb shelter, and they were saying that when the bombs are dropped, like sometimes there's like panic, and one of them mentioned that there was a stampede and they were on the floor, and there was like people just like stepping over them.
Oh, wow.
So they almost literally lost their life because of a stampede. Also, there was some priority in terms of how the buses were being loaded, with Ukrainian citizens being prioritized in terms of that. So they did have that sense of fear of being left out or being left out because they don't know anyone than just the other Jamaicans who were there. So it was more difficult for them and not knowing, hey, if I'm going to make it out alive out of this situation. So yeah.
Yeah, well, it was scary because Putin was hitting schools. He was hitting
Hmm.
hospitals, he was hitting, civilian infrastructure. And to many people, it was a surprise, and they did go in pretty hot and heavy. So, how many Jamaican students were there, Anthony?
If I would give a rough estimate, I would say around 15 to 20
Okay.
people we picked up. So yes, and another thing for them was as well, since they were bombing the universities, some of the university doesn't have electronic database, so all of their records are like on a cabinet somewhere, file cabinet, and how the bombs drop, some of those records get destroyed. So some of the students who have spent, let's say, 2 years already, all of their records and transcript have been totally destroyed by the bombings. And as such, it's like difficult for them to get into another university because not having to start over from scratch because they no longer have access to these records because they got destroyed.
Right. So how would you prove or solve that situation? There's so many situations like that. Everybody has some kind of a situation like that where it goes, not only are you running for your life, but the things that have been destroyed about your life, you can't recover them. You you
Exactly.
you can't recover them. I noticed when we were down there, they call themselves the Close the Sky protesters, and the people that were doing the speeches with the PA system near the
Hmm.
monument there in Old Town. Are they still going at that almost every day, every weekend?
Uh, not at the moment, and they're still there sometimes, but I wouldn't say it's the same frequency as before.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised that they were even allowed to do that. And
Mhm.
but one of the things that I noticed, which kind of made sense to me, is here's another thing that has to do with something that I experienced over there, which is sound. So the medieval square evidently is the largest medieval square in Europe, so I hear. And it's also intact. It wasn't a square that was destroyed in World War II by Hitler. So uh, you notice that when you walk around the perimeter of it to the little cafes and whatnot, people over there just are not as loud as they are here in the United States. There isn't a bunch of shouting and stuff going on. I mean, people are literally, talking amongst themselves at their table, and you
Mhm.
don't hear them. And I noticed that even though they had a PA system, the square was so big, it just wasn't very loud. And uh, reflecting and booming all over the place. They also stopped their activities when the trumpet would sound at the basilica there in the square. And
Hmm.
they'd go around on their little marches. And even though they had like a little bullhorn, they just weren't very loud. So it's not like they're storming around Krakow making this huge noise. Do you still see the university students come out with their collection boxes? Are they still doing that?
Oh yes, definitely. In the main square, you still see students or young people that has like some boxes or cans for donations towards
Right,
the war. So that is still there.
right.
Mhm.
How do you think the citizens of Poland are feeling about taking in all these refugees?
I would say it's a mixed feeling because of course some citizens can understand of Poland having been involved in war before with Russian and Germany aggression all at once. So there's some sympathy in terms of knowing what it's like. So, and of course, you have Polish people who has families as well in Ukraine. So there's some sympathy. The other side of it is just like with this whole situation of Ukrainians coming in and they were given housing. There were some process that were sped up for them in terms of immigration, and there was a lot of exemptions made for them. So some people may think, some Polish people have a feeling of, you know, there might be some destabilization in this instance, or fear of destabilization. But as I said, it's mixed feelings. So not one really overcomes the other. So it's some sympathize still and try to help as they can, and some feel like, okay, this is probably took on too much responsibility.
Yeah, this is a country who likes to have a strong border and likes to keep control
Hmm.
over the demographics in the society. And I was told when I was there that they resented it just because, you know, Ukrainians coming over and taking Polish jobs is what they called. Taking Polish jobs, not necessarily bringing business like you did or contributing or even being a student, but just people coming over and having to work and get housing and take care of their families posed a burden on the society that the regular civilians were complaining about. And the
Hmm.
refugees that I spoke to, the people at the square that day, they're aware of it. Okay,
Yeah,
they're very much aware of that, and they're like, we don't want to be here. We want to go back home. We want to be in Ukraine. And so
yeah.
but and here's another thing that I thought was really interesting too about the Ukrainian people. Having this horrible thing happen to them, and they're driven out like the students that you met they're
Hmm.
driven out, and when they were giving their speeches in the square, they the Ukrainians have brought forth things that we offer, that they don't want to be a charity case, and
Hmm.
our lives have value, and our lives and our children are important to us. And this is what we have to offer you in return. And I saw that, Anthony, everywhere I went.
Hmm.
And I also saw a people that are willing to ask for help. They're not too prideful to ask for help, but they're also a fierce people and a united people in what they want. Did you That was an impression that I got, their fierceness and the other things that I mentioned. Do you have that same idea about them?
Yeah, I do. I mean, a lot of Ukrainians that I've met mention about as soon as there's an opportunity, they'll try to go back home because, all of their belongings are family and loved ones. So, they're not here by choice. Um, at the end of the day, it's the government here that sets up those policies for them to benefit. So it's kind of difficult to put all the blame on them. They're just like, taking advantage of something that was set for them, not by them. So in this instance, like I said, I like to look at it two ways, not just one-sided. But yeah, you do get that sense of fierceness, and even when the war just happened, the message that Zelensky sent about to the citizen about making a stand, about fighting for the country, you do get some type of comradeship, and you know, like a patriot. It just gives you that sense of inspiration and wanting to be a part of something much larger than yourself or bigger than yourself. So they're very strong people. They will fight and they won't just roll over and die.
Yeah, I think they're going to fight to the end. I really
Yeah.
do. Um, so what are let's go back to your tech business a little bit.
Hmm.
What are some of the day to day things that you do and what do you hope to do? I mean, I saw your promotional materials. I'm just
Hmm.
wondering what some of the substance of that is.
Yeah. So basically the idea is for people who are in tech, whether they're working or unemployed. I myself have established myself to be a successful freelancer on Upwork. And, I know what it's like to experience job loss or uncertainty.
Hmm.
So for people that are in the tech field or in IT and they're looking for additional sources of income, how they can make extra money, I will be basically, taking them through a course, which is what we are offering, a course
Hmm.
on how to be successful as a freelancer, in terms of how to set up your, profile, which platform you can join, how to set up your offer, how to promote yourself, how to price your offer. And also, in addition to that, I have an agency as well on one of these freelance platforms. So if someone is interested to join my agency and do what I do as well, I do have existing clients, and sometimes, I'm the only one in my doing these projects, so sometimes it gets a bit overwhelmed. Being a part of the academy, I'll be able to, pass on those projects to people who join the academy, and immediately they can start earning off the bat. But if they just want to specialize in their own niche, so let's say you join, your niche is web development, then I was like, okay, this is how the market is for freelancing for web development. This is how you need to set yourself different. This is how you need to set your offer. This is how you need to stand out. Because when I started as a new freelancer on on Upwork, it's very difficult when you just started because clients want people who have experience, right? To have reviews and stuff, but I had to, crack the code on how to set myself different, how to, how I present the proposal for these projects. And when I got the first one, I did a tremendous job. Even if they're like small earnings, I still do a very good job and get some good reviews, and that just built momentum for me. So I just want to, help people to do the same because there will be times of uncertainty. There could be, you never know, there could be another pandemic, there could be another chaos. And
Yeah.
gone are the days where job stability is kind of becoming a thing of the past because companies these days are doing layoffs so easily and randomly. So it's like you want to set yourself up for the future and not just, have nothing planned and one day get a letter or get invited to a meeting that you're being let go and then you don't know what else to do. So, you know,
Yeah, we've seen that here in the United States with the big companies, Qualcomm, Kyocera, Motorola. They all
yeah.
would just do these frightening layoffs and lay off thousands and thousands of people who had worked for them for many years. So these are people who started out, they be, become married,
Hmm.
have children, they've got the mortgage payment, they're paying the car payment, they're doing all these things, and then here comes the letter and you get a severance and you basically have nowhere to go. You were a cell phone designer, a cell phone maker. I'm talking about this happened in the late 1990s and
Hmm.
early 2000s was when they had the big layoffs.
Hmm.
Qualcomm basically closed their doors and Kyocera picked up where they left off. And then not too long after that, Kyocera did the same thing, had these massive, massive layoffs.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of people who just absolutely did not know what to do. And the ones that did survive it had some kind of second source of income, like, they played the stock market or they had investments because they were making so much money. They had
Yeah.
investments and so they're smart people and they were doing something, but it's not always like that for everybody. You can find yourself really without.
Yeah.
And So do you could feel pretty strongly about making your own money your own way and being successful. I think that's great. And showing other people how to do it is really valuable as well. I mean, it's good for you and it's good for your soul, but you literally could be saving somebody's life because, you know, not everybody knows how to navigate these waters like you do. That's the final point
Yes,
I'm trying to get
yeah,
at.
that's the thing. I I pay the cost, to learn
You,
these stuff, literally. But I know when I started, because like when it happened to me, this company, like I could have never imagined. Like I knew there were signs, but you always had hope that okay, it's just you overthinking and stuff like that. And when it happened, like I felt so heartbroken. I never felt so heartbroken. Like the last time I felt so heartbroken was like my last relationship. That's how I felt. It was crazy. I felt really heartbroken
oh,
of how it happened because it's like I saw a future with this company and I saw myself and I really enjoyed what I was doing. I really enjoyed. But sometimes when you get complacent, life, gives you a reminder that, you know, you need to try to do something for yourself because this is the thing. When it's your skill and your knowledge, nobody can take that away from you.
that's right.
That stays with you forever.
Yeah,
So that's what I've learned. And, I just do a lot of research and think about, what can I offer that can be different, how it can be different in this instance. And, I had some few failures then, but, once I got it right, it just kept on flowing and that that allowed me to keep on staying in Poland and have income still coming in. So yeah, it's just how it goes in especially the tech industry. There's always changes. So, regardless of if you did 5 or 10 years or 1 year, it just doesn't matter because, you know, the companies in private companies, the interests, they always look out for their best interests. And if the board says, hey, we need to do this to cut costs or to do whatever, doesn't matter, who you are and
yeah,
your family, like they don't care about that,
yeah,
all they care about is looking out for their interests. And honestly, it's not even personal, it's just business. So you
right,
also need to do business and and just like look out for your best interests.
right,
Yeah.
right. Well, and what you said about nobody can take that away from you, that experience, that's so true. Somebody asked me a question. This is somebody who has been, uh, a project director in a company that's 30 years old. They're an international company. They're very well known.
Hmm.
And they said to me, "What do you think about, the difference between academic smarts and experience?" And I said, and they asked it to me as a either or,
Hmm.
which one, if you had one to pick, which one would it, whatever. But anyway, I said experience because, and that's the answer. Nobody can take it from you. Nobody can take it from you. So it drives your path forward, hopefully. And it sounds like, you are somebody who is willing to put in a great deal of effort to make it work. So, I mean, to pick yourself up after a job loss and start your own company, that's really risky. I mean,
Y-
right?
yes,
It's,
it is because like my stay in Poland as well was like be jeopardized because of that because like
yeah.
being a temporary resident, you need to be here making money. In terms of like what my stay was on the basis of, right? So I had to think really quick on how to get something started, and that's what I had to do. So it was a very scary time, and
Mhm.
to wake up in the morning and to be motivated when you go on the platform and you send like 100 proposals and none of them are read,
And
none of them got
yeah,
read, and to still have the push to say maybe this one will be this one, maybe it will be this one, maybe it will this one. So I just never stopped until I got the first one. And sometimes you can fail many times, but you just need to be successful one time. and then that's it. That's how the gates get open.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
I guess that having the will to do that, that that's a quality. Strength is a quality to be able to take the rejection,
Mhm.
right? And to just hang on during the low times, right? When times get tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this was a great interview. Do you have any final thoughts for the audience?
Final thoughts. I would say, for the audience, just like keep searching for what you love, because it becomes a lot easier when you do something that you love than doing
Mhm.
something that you totally hate. And I do understand sometimes you got to do something that you hate to get by, but life is short, and you don't want to spend all of your years doing something that you totally hate with the excuse to say, I have no other choice. There's always choices. So I always tell people, try to find something that you love or are passionate about, and do that. If you have to do something that you don't like just to make money, that's fine, but don't lose sight of it, because life is pretty short, and at the end of the day, you don't want to be living with regret. And
Mhm.
sometimes you have to make sacrifices to pursue your passion. But at the end of the day, it's your life, and um, you want to live it as fulfilled as possible.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
very good. Thank you for joining us today on the Centrist Post, Mr. Dixon. We're very proud of you. I'm very glad to know you and call you friend. And I'm going to get over there again someday and see you. I was hoping I would have been over there by now, but I haven't made it yet. But
Definitely. Or
I'm
the
very
next time I
excited.
visit the States, we could probably meet as well, depending on where
Okay.
you will be. So
Okay. Well, and
definitely.
we'll stay in touch and we'll do this again next time you got a big crazy story to tell.
Okay, not a problem. Not a problem.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay.